Give me one sec. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of NC-17. My name is Josh, and today with us we have a well decorated human being. His name is Bob Eisler Jr. How are you doing today?
Hey Josh, how are you, brother?
I'm all right. I'm all right. Uh,
Good.
so before we get into the movies you've been in, just a little bit of background of, like as a child, was movies what you wanted to do, when you grew up, or just, whatever.
Yeah, no. I mean, I never had any desire to be in a movie. I was born and raised in Baltimore a long time ago. A long time ago. Um, I, I'm mid-century modern. I was born in the 50s, so if that tells you anything. Uh, I always wanted to be a state cop. I mean, that was my desire as a kid. I always wanted to be a state cop. I actually did that. Got the T-shirt, you know. Uh, so I was a state trooper in Maryland, and I'm retired. I got hurt on the job, unfortunately, and had to leave. And left there, had some medical issues. And when I was well enough to work again, I went to work for Homeland Security doing disaster response. And I did that until my body was completely shot. So uh, I retired in it's 2021. Had to have a couple of surgeries, and just one day I had my spine fused a couple times, and the last one was like completely, I got like one disc left. It works. So
Oh,
sitting on the sofa one night, I was watching a podcast similar to this. Uh, my godson, who lives in Baltimore County, was talking about a movie they were making called The Baltimore Bomb, and I texted him, on a keypad. I said, "Hey, if you need an old beat up cop, let me know." You know, and so that was the beginning of this journey that we're on here. Basically, they had me come down. I was kind of immobile at the time, but I could stand up and do a press conference. So that was my first scene in the acting world. I played Chief Carbos in the Baltimore Bomb. Derek Stroman, he was the producer. Johnny Lang is my godson. He was the writer. He and his son Jimmy, and we did like a 40-minute short, and it was really cool. And I did that, participated, and I kind of got the bug. I mean, they had a podcast that came on every week, and I think I became like the movie virus. I was like, I just kept spreading from one person to the next. You know, I don't know how that really worked, but I just kept meeting people, and it just kind of like steamrolled into something really cool. So in 3 years now, this is probably around like Project 70 for me.
okay.
It's like I really need to learn to say no at some point in time. But I have like a some form of ADHD where I like to start things and never finish them. So I'm a great day player. I mean, if you need somebody to come out for a day, I'm great. I mean, don't look for me on day two. I've already done something else. But I mean, that's kind of it. I never had a desire to act. I really never watched, because I've watched some of your podcasts and I watched some of the other folks on podcasts, and they all had a love for the movies and a love for horror genre. And I was just never a movie guy. I never watched TV. I always was playing sports or working. I'm married, been married 41 years to my wife, Carolyn, and I have three daughters and five grandkids. So there really ain't a lot of time for extracurricular activities, you know.
Oh
But
yeah.
I fit the movie stuff in one day at a time, which and it works well for me. And I somehow wound up doing the horror genre, but it's just so many cool people. I met so many cool people. I mean, and you know most of them probably, but it's like it's hard to say no. Somebody comes up with a script and they have an idea. It's like, hey, you want to do this? Unfortunately, I kind of got like stereotyped as the corrupt police chief or the dirty cop. So I've done a lot of that. You know,
Yeah.
so yeah, I look more like a cop now than I ever did. I mean, I worked undercover for most of my career. I had long hair and drove a Harley, and I didn't look like this. You
Oh
know.
yeah. Uh, well, first, before I continue, I want to say thank you for your service.
Yeah, Carl Welcome. Absolutely.
Uh, uh, so you've done quite a few films and shorts, and so I think you've done a couple TV shows too, right?
Yeah, right now I'm doing background right now for the Mayor of Kingstown.
Okay.
which is pretty cool on Paramount. This is my third season. They're on season four. So season two, I was an inmate. I was supposed to be a detective, but I totaled my car on the way up there, and I wound up ultimately being an inmate for one scene. But you never saw me, so I got to come back in season three for the detective role, and actually got to stand behind a couple important people. If they were any taller, you wouldn't have seen me.
uh, you said you do get a typecast as like the police officer or the
Yeah.
bouncer and stuff like that. So being in that field before you got into movies, I mean that you kind of fit the bill. Uh, so in doing so, do you bring a lot of the stuff from when you were in on the force to the film?
I think so. I mean, and Josh, I've done so many different things in my life. I'm 66, and I've done so many different things. It's like every time I have a role, there's almost something I can fall back on. It's not like I'm just trying to make up how do I do this? How do I feel? I've done so many crazy things in my life, so I can almost bring something personal to the role. It's not really hard to do that for me. For some reason, I'm kind of strange, but I've always done a lot of goofy stuff. I was a private detective for 15 years, so I was always role playing in that, and in undercover work and just stuff I've done. So yeah, and I think that's something that the producer directors appreciate when you walk on a set. You kind of have the swagger a little bit. You don't have to ask questions, and and I've been married so long, I know how to pay attention and listen to instructions.
uh, you also do stand-up comedy.
I do stand up, yes, and I enjoy that a lot. Yeah, I do stand up.
Yeah. So transitioning from the force, going through your injuries and your health battle, getting into film, and then the stand-up comedy, you've kind of ran the gamut of like just complete opposites of everything you've done. What would you consider as like your favorite thing to do out of all three?
I think I like stand up the best, just because you have an immediate response. You
Yeah.
know, with movies, you don't know if you did well, you didn't do well, and sometimes you can do great and still not make the cut. You wind up on the floor somewhere in the cutting room. With stand up, you either are really good or you're really bad, and you don't have to wait to find out. And it's not necessarily you. Every crowd's different. You got to read the room, which I have kind of like an innate skill of doing that just from working undercover. Just like you have to really read people. In those days, if I made a mistake in my lines, I didn't go home. This is pretty good. I either get paid or don't, but
Okay.
it's not that dangerous.
Oh yeah.
I like to stand up, but I also like roles that are challenging, that are contradictory to my personality.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like why I like the horror stuff, because I was never into horror. And my mom was really into that, but we didn't really have that kind of relationship where she passed that on to me or anything. But she really liked the horror genre. But the roles are something that you have to think about, and it's a lot of special effect type stuff, either at a low level or high level, you know, and
Okay.
like getting bloody and getting beat up and dressed up, and which is cool. I mean, for someone that never had that in their life, and to see other people's visions of how they want you to perform, and I've worked with some really neat people that, I mean, sometimes I almost they scare me the things they want me to do. Like, okay, I'll do that. You know,
Oh yeah. Uh, you were in Zero. You played a zombie.
yeah, actually played two zombies.
Uh, uh, what was that like, and what was getting into the makeup and the effects and everything? How was that?
That was really like my kind of like my first exposure to getting made up per se, and it was interesting. It gave me an opportunity to sit around and watch, because there's a lot of sitting and watching how things work. So Wesley Spangler was the producer director, and Russell was there. The same old cast of characters that I'm with every day now. But I got to watch how a movie was made, because my first preview experience was like daytime TV stuff for like all the long cop shows. And it's completely different. It's not a lot of conversation. There's not a lot of interaction. There's no dialogue. You go in, you make something up. They're talking over you.
Yeah.
So with the zombie movie, it was really cool to do that. And like I said, I went back a second time and just changed my outfit, put a wig on, and played a different zombie. And I really liked that. And it's kind of weird, and I guess because you're in the business, but it was more family like. You felt like you belonged there. You weren't just a guy that was hanging out. You know, I mean, my
Yeah.
first cop show, I was actually told by the producer he didn't want me. I mean, I showed up and he's like, "Who are you?" I told him. He goes, "I didn't want you. Casting cast you. I don't even need you." And
Dang.
basically, I said, "Hey, are you going to pay me?" He's like, "Yeah, you'll get paid, but I don't need you." And so I sat on the sideline, and then he started putting me into different roles. It was one of the reenactment shows, and when the show came on TV, I was the only one you saw. The other people that were cast were never seen. So it's like you just don't know. I mean, you really don't.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes you're seeing, sometimes you're not. But yeah, the Zero was good. I had a good rapport with Wesley and Russell Sage Patrick and Jesse Green and all those guys. And I just when they call, I answer. I mean, you get to the point where certain people call you, you answer the phone. Other people, you're glad you have caller ID. It's like no thanks. I'm not. But you learn at it, as you go through the business.
Oh, yeah. You were also in The Legend of Crickfoot.
Yeah, that was cool. That was really cool. Bone Johnson. Um, Basically, it was kind of weird how we did it. Like a documentary type thing.
Yeah.
And when Bone reached out to me, it was because he'd seen me on some other things. He goes, "Hey, I like just send in auditions." And I had basically went out in my backyard in the woods and did my character, and did like a 1.5 minute audition, and that's what went into the show. I mean, there was no come in, do it. It was it. That was it. So I guess he liked it. It was cool. I did a like a little farmer guy who was basically a crickfoot denier. And Lucas McCain. I just make up Lucas McCain because I like the Rifleman show.
Oh yeah.
So I made my name Luke McCain, and I did a little country accent, with a little twang to it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was
Uh,
fun.
you do have some movies coming out. You got Zero Part Two. You play Agent West.
Yeah, and I think I have one more scene to film, but that's like a kind of complete contrast to the first one. This
Yeah.
one I got a little bit of dialogue. Matt, couple guys in it that we did before. Of course, with Wes, he does the cruise ship stuff. So you got to get him when he's in town. Between his music and that. But I think that's going to be good. I like my part in that.
Oh yeah. Uh, so being in the industry for such a small time now, uh, do you wish that when you were a kid, maybe you kind of maybe went into that field a little bit more just to kind of get your feet wet at a younger age, or are you happy with where you are now?
Yes and yes. I mean, I am happy with where I am, but I really would have. I wish I'd have done this, at a younger age. I don't know how that would have changed my life, but I mean, it would have been nice to do this younger, just because my window's shorter, and I'm trying to leave kind of a legacy here, which, whatever you do now is going to be there forever. I got grandkids, and I'm hoping to put some good product out there that they can watch and enjoy, not just all the weird stuff, because I do a lot of stupid stuff too, but, I want something that's worth them watching, someday like, hey, my granddad did this, because I have no memories of my grandfather, basically. He raised me, but he was just a grumpy old man that made me do the right thing. I think I have one picture of him, where they can go back and look and say, this was my grandpa and whatever. I wish I had done it sooner. I do. I'm happy with the path I'm taking now. But I think because of the timing of it, and this might sound weird, my timing was right around COVID. So because of COVID, everybody was starting over,
Yeah,
and technology was different. People hadn't seen each other for a while, so I wasn't really coming in as the new guy. Everybody was the new guy, you know.
true.
So it was like a hard restart, and then the industry was restarting, and people were trying to find their way with technology, and the internet and the web had opened up new avenues, and all the streaming services were starting. So I really didn't start at zero, even though I started with zero.
Right. I mean, I agree. Because I've only been doing this podcast for a little over 2 years now,
Hmm.
and we started out as a wrestling podcast, and it kind of got lost in the shuffle because it was everything was wrestling on the platform I was on, and I was like, I gotta go a different direction.
Right.
Talking to my wife, she said, "You love movies, do movies." I was like, should have thought about that a lot sooner. So I agree 100% with what you're saying, and my hats off to you because in a short period of time, you have put out an impressive resume.
Well, thank you, but it's more about the people around me than it is me. I mean, and I hope people understand that. It's like I'm just a small part of what other people are doing, and I've really tried to play it like a supporting role. I don't have any ambition to be Tom Cruise, or anything like that. And I like some dialogue. I appreciate when somebody gives me a line or two, especially when you're doing background and you don't get a line. It's like just give me a word. It's like I went out on one movie and basically, I mean, I think I just put the fear of God in the guy. Like, just give me a word. Like, give me one word. So I wound up getting a little bit better role just because there's like, I'll give you a word. I mean, they gave me some dialogue and all, but the people that, especially this area, I mean, I can't speak for everywhere, but I mean, the DMV area, DC, Maryland, Virginia area, everybody's like family around here. Everybody looks out for everybody. We all send each other casting calls, and people call me all the time. I mean, it's like, if my phone rings, I'll say, okay, what do you need? Cop, judge, or lawyer, corrupt or not corrupt.
Oh yeah. Uh, well, before we continue, I want to ask, how is your back now since you've had your, you know, surgeries?
Um, I'm okay. I mean, I just have a bunch of, I mean, I basically have aliens living in my body. If you ever come to my stand-up show, I'll tell you about all of them. But basically what happened with me, I'll give you a long story short, is when I was on the state police, I worked covert operations and they put the wrong battery in my surveillance van and it cooked my lungs completely. So I almost died. I mean, when I left, I was as blue as this shirt. I had like 30% lung capacity. And because of that, I've been on all these crazy drugs for the last 25 years, and they've caused my disc just to explode in my back. So I've had 5 spine surgeries, and the last one was the major one, and it's just from use and abuse and taking meds. But I'm fine. Probably my best acting role, I would say, and my wife has pretty much told me this, is acting like I'm okay. Because I mean, I just pushed through it, and I'm not going to complain. I don't. I, I'm lucky to be here. I've had a couple times where I thought, I'll see you when I see you on the other side.
Yeah.
So every day is a blessing, and yeah, I'm happy. I mean, I'm good. I mean, I can move. I do some crazy stuff still. I fall down really well. I'm not good at getting back up. But if you just need someone to fall, I'm your guy.
uh, what advice would you give people who are trying to get into the industry right now, or just in any facet of it, whether it be stand up, acting, producing,
Yeah.
directing?
I mean, I do my best to mentor the new guys and gals that I meet. I mean, when I meet someone and start talking about what I do and what I've been doing, I try to get them in the business. I mean, that's my goal. Like, if they even have just a little bit of a flicker of a light of ambition, I tell them it's like, hey, look, you got to do it. It's a job. And if you don't look at it as a job, you're not going to have fun. I mean, it's a job. You have to work in, you have to be on time, you have to pay attention. All the things that I learned, in other jobs, carry on to this one. It's just that you really have to like what you do. There's a lot of rejection. There's a lot of unknowing whether you're good enough. Just because someone doesn't give you the role doesn't mean you're not good enough. It just means you weren't what they were looking for that day, that hour, that minute. Um, I mean, Josh, I probably do 20, 30 auditions a week. Honest to God, I just keep sending in reels and sending in stuff. And if I get a call back, that's a bonus. My job is just to do the work, put the work in. And
Yeah.
that's what I tell folks. It's like, look, if I can do it, you can do it. I have no special skills or talents or knowledge. I just enjoy working and I like to make people laugh, from the stand up side.
Oh yeah.
Uh, I talk about myself. I won't talk about you. I mean, I've learned that at an early point that, you're not going anywhere by putting people down and belittling them. I might make them think about something they've done wrong by something I did wrong. Hopefully they learn from my mistakes. But there's humor in things. The younger kids are harder to entertain. I don't know what it is, but like the 20 somethings, whatever Gen XYZ WQ, what it is, I don't know. They're just hard to entertain. That they have the attention span of a grapefruit, and if you put alcohol in front of them, then you're lost. So
Very true.
stand up, you do a lot of bar gigs, so it's hard. Um, I try to just be honest. I mean, I'm not pretending. When you see me, you see me. It's like I've seen some of the folks you've had on, like Jeff and Jim Crut and all. That's their special gift. They're themselves, and they're not pretending to be somebody else. And that's what I try to do. It's like either you like me or you don't. This is what you get. You know,
Oh yeah.
my big problem is I'm probably about a hair short of 6'2" and 235 pounds, and everybody thinks that I'm intimidating, and I'm trying not to be. It's like, no, I'm not trying to be intimidating. It's
Oh
kind of
yeah.
a curve. If God would have made me 5'6" and chubby, I'd have been the best comedian out there.
Oh yeah. Uh, so being in the industry, you get, especially in stand-up comedy, you have the people who are going to love you. You have the people who are not going to love you. How do you handle that when it comes to the naysayers and the hecklers and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, like I'm early on in the stand-up game, so I really haven't had to deal with hecklers. But I mean, you're not going to change anybody's opinion of you. Just be yourself. Um, I'm pretty good at rolling with punches. If somebody gives me a window of something and they're on my butt, I'm probably going to spin it and make them laugh a little bit about something. I mean, even if you don't like me completely, you'll like me a little bit when you leave. Yeah, and I've always been good at that. I mean, I work. It's funny. My wife, like I said, I'm 66. My wife told me for 50 years I never talked, and now I don't shut up. You know, but you have to understand, I had four women in the house. I never got a chance to talk. I mean, there was four of them. Finally, three of them moved out. Hey, it's 50-50 here, you know. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's like anything else you do in life. I mean, if someone wants to find fault in what you do, they're going to, and it's no reflection on you; it's a reflection on them. So if they come into a situation with a negative attitude, I've just always been able to make people laugh. I don't know. I mean, that's kind of why I got into stand up. Is I started talking to people in the acting business and sitting around just joking around, and they're like, "You need to do stand up." It's like I'm not trying to be funny, but I'm funny, and
Yeah.
I've always seen the funny stuff out there. I mean, my brain's wired different. I mean, it just is. I admit it. I try to find humor in things, and I always try to brighten people's day. I mean, if I go anywhere, and my wife hates it. I mean, if I go to the store and the cashier looks like she's been having the worst day of her life, and when she leaves, she's going to drive her car into a tree, I will make her laugh before I leave. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
that's just the personality I have. It's like I'm going to give you something to be cheerful about while I have this 10 seconds of attention. It's a gift and a curse. It's just, but
Oh
I'm going to make you smile. I mean, even if I have to take some clothes off. I mean, it is what it is.
yeah. All right. So touching on the family aspect, you getting into film, what was your family's reaction, and were they? I'm sure they were supportive. So.
No. And the funny thing, when you're doing this on your own, like I didn't have any friends doing it. I didn't have any family that was doing it, and it requires auditions. I mean, you got to audition, and the auditions are generally dialogue. When somebody sends you a page or two of sides, there's another person in that. So I've used and abused my wife so much she's tired of it, and my kids are tired of it. I mean, I think they enjoy seeing the end product. They just don't want to be part of getting me there. It really is tough. I mean, you have to have a network of people that'll do things with you. My wife, I mean, as much as she seems like she doesn't want me doing it, she laughs and has a good time with it. And she shares it with her friends. And once you do anything, you're on YouTube or someplace. So the kids will Google me up and stuff. But I mean, they're supportive, but it's more of an amazement thing. Like, they'll call my wife and they'll say, "What's Dad doing now? I just saw him doing this." I mean, he's doing everything he told us not to do.
Oh yeah. Uh, so would you say there was a specific moment in everything you've done so far that you filmed is like that stands out as like your favorite moment?
I can't tell you about the movie, but with Shannon, they let me play this guy Gus in the morning after, and I usually can't be me. I'm always being what someone wants me to be, and Shannon just let me be me, and it was a goofy, silly, a serious movie that I made silly in my role, and you'll get a chance to see it. Hopefully, they won't cut me out, but I played Gus in the morning after, and they just let me play with that role, and I was a goof. I mean, it was just that's all I can say. It's like something that should have been a serious moment in a horror film. I wound up being Robin Williams. Like where'd we get this guy at? You
Oh
know,
yeah. Speaking of Shannon, she was on a show and she's got the she's very her interview made my wife cry
yeah,
because you know she
she's
seems
dynamic.
like I've only spoken to her on here, but you've been around her. She seems
Right?
like such a genuine person,
Yeah,
and but you all do. You all seem like you care for, like you said earlier, you care for each other. That's what the independent scene is. For me, is like
right.
I see you guys putting your heart and soul into the films, but I also see you guys coming together as a family. And to me, that's ultimately what makes me enjoy the films even more. Uh, would you say that that statement is accurate that you guys are like a close knit family?
Not like my family. I mean, we're like other families, but I mean, we get along a lot. We get a lot better than my family. No, yeah, I mean, we have the family, and the thing is, Josh, I mean, it's like I'm a certain age, like Russell and Jesse Green were older. Jim Crut's a little bit older, been in the business forever. Many times we're auditioning for the same roles. And if you don't like the other person, it can get ugly real fast. You have to be friends and you have to be buddies. And it's like, you got the role. I mean, we're not competing against each other. We're just competing against ourselves. It's like, I'm going to give you the best shot to pick me. And every time that one of those guys has gotten a role that I auditioned for, the right choice was made. I promise you. I mean, casting directors all they have a good eye for what they want, and it's not that. I mean, I play a lot of cop roles, and it's a lot of guys that audition for those as well. And I don't think I've ever been disappointed that someone else got the role. That's just the way it is. It's I want everybody to succeed. You're not competing with me. I want you to do well. And
Yeah.
I think we all feel that way. I mean, it's kind of weird to be in a situation where we know each other for such a short time, but there's such a bond in the independent film industry in this area. And you'll see that's Jeff, and I'll send Jeff stuff all the time. And I'll
Yeah.
say, look, man, you got to put in for this, and then then I'll do the same with me. And I don't know if there's any other business that's like that. I really don't. I mean, I've worked a lot of crazy jobs and all over the country. And I think what we do is really unique in that manner that we all want each other to succeed. And we're happy when we do.
Oh,
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It really is.
oh, yeah. So is there a certain type of film you haven't filmed yet or TV show that you would like to do?
I I just got a movie. We're going to finish the movie in July, and I got to be the villain basically. Like and I played some bad guys in some of this stuff. But Selena Polk, she's a writer from Baltimore, and she's got a movie called The Offspring, and I actually play the head of the Russian mafia. And
Okay.
my character's name is Bishop, so I had to learn to draw to my voice and speak slowly and do the Russian stuff, And
Yeah.
I already filmed my scene, which is pretty cool. Now I can see how it develops, but I really like the bad guy stuff, and it's not the bad cop guy. Like I played a corrupt cop. There's a cable series where I'm a racist cop. There's another cable series where I play the head of the human trafficking ring as the sheriff. So you're the bad guy, but you're still a cop bad guy. But to be a non-law enforcement villain is pretty cool. I like that you're the bad guy. Um, I like to see some more stuff where it's a twist and you have to think about it. I just signed on for my first play, which I'm kind of like just a day player. I got one scene at the end of the play, but that is just a whole different world. I mean, you don't get any retakes. You got to do it.
Oh
So I
yeah.
mean, it's like a whole lot. There's a whole lot of table reads every week, reading the scripts. And when somebody's not there that night, you're reading somebody else's lines just to get through the table read, and that's really cool. I mean, I like that a lot. I just like challenging myself. I think that's the thing with me. I'm not afraid to take a chance and do something different.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep it fairly clean. I don't, like I had an audition where they wanted me to like do the F bombs and all that stuff. I did it. I did it. The guy's like, hey, it's in the script. We'll bleep it out. My buddy Derek, they didn't bleep anything out. I was like 3.5 minutes of F bombs. If you'd have bleeped it out, it would have been me saying hello. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
I mean, I want stuff that my kids can watch, my grandkids can watch, and I just started doing faith-based films, and I enjoy that. And there's a company called JC Films out of West Virginia. They just opened a club down in Northern Virginia, which I joined, and I want to get into that a little bit more. I've done a couple movies with them, just day player, single role stuff, and I'd like to challenge myself on that a little bit more. And I'm really just trying to push the stand up a little bit more, because I enjoy that,
Oh yeah.
so it doesn't pay. I mean, if you think you're gonna make $1 million, or good luck. You might get $20 and you got to pay for your own dinner, but it is what it is.
Oh yeah. We got about 6 minutes left. Is there anything, if you want to take a couple minutes, is there anything you'd like to say to any of the actors or producers or directors you've worked with that you haven't said yet that you would like to say?
Yeah, look, I'm gonna show you that. I started writing down names. I mean, I got like in 3 years. It's like if I wanted to thank the Academy for this award, I'd like to thank 300 people that have made this possible. I mean, there's so many good people out there, and I don't want to miss somebody. That's why I don't just start rattling off names, because there's just so many good people. Um, I just want to say, like, the folks out there that are writing your own stuff, that's so important to just come up with, your own ideas and your own, like, family history type stuff, and your own things that's happened to you in your life, good, bad, or indifferent. I mean, there's stories that need to be told. Every movie is a story. I mean, I have started 3 scripts myself. I don't know if I'll ever finish any of them, but I've started 3. Just doing things that I think that need to be told. Thank you. I like to thank everybody. I mean, everybody that knows me that's watching this, and you know who you are. I just want to say thank you for making this part of my journey possible. I love what I'm doing. I love the people that I'm working with. The horror stuff, I mean, it's just, I could name 20 people. I mean, Russell Sage Patrick is like my mentor, Jesse Green, guys like that, Matt Byrne, Mark Burns, all those guys. I mean, I started writing down names, but man, it'd be unjust to leave half the people off. And you'll see them all here. Um, I'm tied into like the Baltimore peeps. So I'll give a shout out to those guys a little bit. Johnny Lang, my godson, Derek Stroman, he's a good guy. Um, Santa Dave, he's one of the guys that he plays Santa 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. The guy is amazing. He's a full-time fireman. I like working with him. I've worked with so many guys, Real Brothers down in Virginia. Um, like I say, I got a new movie family now, Dylan Mayer of Kingstown, and all the folks up there. We see each other as much as we can. He has to haul 5 hours each way just to get yelled at sometimes, but it's fun. Um, and I appreciate you. I want to thank you for having me on. I mean, it's an honor to be on your podcast. This is an important part of what we do, is for you to talk to us and let folks see what we're doing and see what you're doing and get to know our personalities. And, we're just not a guy that shows up for 3 seconds and says a couple words. There's some depth to what we do, and we care about it, and we care about putting a good product out there. And I think that's it. I mean, we understand this is a job. to us. I mean, it's fun, it's rewarding, but we got to put the work in. And that, again, that's what I'm saying to the new folks. I mean, if you think somebody's just going to knock on your door and say, "Hey, here's 3 pages of lines. I'll see you tomorrow." I mean, it doesn't happen very often. I mean, once people know you, they may call you and give you a chance. I don't really want anybody to give me a role. I've had people do that, and I appreciate it, but I don't want you to do that. I want to work for the role. I want you to have me audition, look at what I did, and see if that's what your vision for the role is, as well as my vision for the role. I don't want somebody to say, "Hey, I saw you do this, and I think you'd be good for that." Make me work for it. I mean, make me work for it. That you're not hurting my feelings. I think that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, I want to thank you, Bob, for coming on, and I appreciate you for everything you've done. And again,
Thank
thank you for
you.
your service all them years. And like I tell everybody, you have a home at NC-17 now. Anytime you want to come on, you're more than welcome, even if it's just to say you got a booger in your nose. So,
I didn't want to tell you that, but it's okay.
yeah, I've been doing that a couple times.
All right, bro. I'm not gonna be serious. You should know that by now. You've known me for 20 minutes.
Oh yeah, it's all good.
I
I think
thank
there's
you.
something there now.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. I appreciate what you're doing and keep it up. And hope to see you again.
Oh, you will. You will.
All right, brother. Thank you so
All right.
much.
Yep.
Take care.
You
Bye
too.
bye.
Everybody stay NC-17.